Well, hi, this is Donna Blevins. I'm a poker mindset coach, and you're probably wondering why in the world am I introducing Marnie Pearson. One of the reasons is that she has been more significant than anyone else in my life. She is intuitive. She's been an entrepreneur since 1990, and what's interesting is that she knows what goes on between your ears. And since I deal with mindset, it's really wonderful to have someone that is your mentor who has been able to really assist as well. She knows what your typical thought training has to do with and how to deal with technical blocks or mindset issues. And this is really interesting because she started using Simply Healed. She became a healed practitioner, I believe, in a few years ago, and she became combining being an entrepreneur and that healing practitioner, I believe, in 1998, and she's been able to combine the two very powerfully. I believe more powerful than anybody else has been able to do that. She's indeed someone that I look up to and professionally, and I'm just thrilled that you're here. And Marnie, I'm going to hand this over to you. And why don't you help people realize what makes them tick and what causes those clouds to block their light?
Thanks, Donna. I appreciate that welcome. Yeah, I got certified in Simply Healed in 2011, I believe. Yeah, but I've been an entrepreneur since 1990. So welcome to the 7 clouds that block your light. You can break through them to shine. You don't have to stay there. Don't have to stay stuck. So what can you expect from today's call? I'm going to be giving you an overview of these 7 clouds that block your light and the symptoms and the causes of each one. Just acknowledging them and understanding that they're there is 50% of the battle. In any kind of a change or transformation, acknowledgement is half the battle. So today, hopefully, you'll be able to recognize whether you've got some of these or not and why. And then also I'm going to give you a way you can begin to break through these clouds. And it's a powerful strategy that you can use on your own today. And I'm also going to be introducing you to my Breakthrough to Radiance program that covers these 7 clouds and how to break through them and goes into way more depth than what we will be doing today. But you are going to come away with a strategy that you can use whether you decide to be part of my series or not. All right, so why is breaking through so important? If you can get past these 7 things, if you can address them and move past them, and it is a process, but you can get through quite a bit of it swiftly, your life and your business is going to become easier. You're going to start attracting your ideal clients. And people will respect and value what you offer because many of these clouds that get in your way actually undermine your respect and your value for yourself. And if you don't respect and value yourself, other people aren't going to either. So it's got to start with you. The change has to begin with me. It changes. You're the only person you can control, and if you can learn to respect and value yourself and what you have to offer, then other people are going to be more attracted to you. And they're going to become more willing to pay you what you're worth because you're going to project that worth. And your success will become achievable and sustainable. All right, so let's start with those 7 storm clouds. The first one is fear of success. And so what are some symptoms of the fear of success? There are a lot of them, but I'm going to just cover a few here. The first is you get close to success, but something comes along to sabotage your opportunities. You may be just right there, you can see it, taste it, but something comes along and it just runs through your fingers. Another symptom might be that you create success, but then you swiftly lose it. Now, I'm not talking about setbacks. Everybody has some setbacks in their life. It's a natural process of life to have creation and chaos and creation and chaos. It's a cycle, okay? But your successes should continue to build on each other, and sometimes you might well, as Donna would say, you get a new hand, okay? Life deals you a different hand. So you sometimes start over with something new, and that's okay. But if you keep achieving some form of success and swiftly losing it, where you can't hang on to it, that could be a symptom of the fear of success. Or if you can't even begin to imagine success at all, or very little, you can't really get hold of it. Like if I told you to imagine yourself successful 5 years from now, and you just can't picture that anything would ever change, you got rotten luck, and it's always going to be the same or whatever, there could be some fear of success there as well. So what causes this fear of success? One thing is other people's judgment. We're concerned what other people are going to think if we become successful. Maybe we think we'll change, our friends won't be our friends anymore, our family will think we're too good for them, or or whatever. We're thinking about what other people are going to think. Another one might be pride concerns, especially for a Christian audience that I predominantly deal with. The pride goeth before a fall. So we might sabotage our success because we're afraid we'll become proud and arrogant, and then we're going to have this big fall. So to avoid the fall, why not just don't rise at all. Another possibility is that we're scared that we're going to lose freedom. I've heard this a lot from people that if I become successful, I'm going to be busy all the time, I'm going to be doing stuff all the time, I'm not going to be able to have time with my family or my friends or to pursue my hobbies or be involved in my church or my community or all this other stuff. And really that's just not true, because I have built businesses over the years that have helped me be a success, and the ones that you build correctly actually free you up. They free up your time. They're delegated properly, and you have more time, more money, more freedom than you ever did before, when things are just hand-to-mouth or you're just barely getting by or whatever. So this is a myth, really, on the loss of freedom. And a twin cousin to this one is the mommy guilt. If you're a mother, say in your late 20s, 30s, I hear this a lot from women entrepreneurs or women who are thinking of going into business, is, oh, well, I won't pay any attention to my kids, they'll get ignored, yada, yada, yada. And again, if you build a business properly, you don't have to deal with this mommy guilt. And it's not an absolute thing that if you have a successful business that you're not going to have time for your family. It's quite the reverse, actually, if you have the success. Another option is that fear of success could be caused by family patterns. Let's say you grew up in a family where your parents looked down on people with money because they assumed that they must have done something bad to get it, or the successful people are stepping on the backs of somebody else, or more of that competitive dog-eat-dog sort of mindset about how success is achieved. And success does not have to be achieved that way. In fact, I don't even call that a success. True success makes everyone's lives better that you touch. Another possible cause would be what I call the God excuse, which is basically God wants me to remain humble and suffer and just barely get by so that I stay connected with Him, and He doesn't really want me to be a success. There's a really good verse in the book of Joshua about meditate on the law day and night, and then thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. Everything that God teaches biblically is designed to help you be a success and to prosper. So that blows that excuse out of the water. All right. Now, twin cousin to the fear of success is fear of failure, like probably the other half of the coin, the other side of the coin here. So what are some symptoms of that one? One thing that might come up is a pattern of things not working out. Again, it's that self-sabotage, something coming up that makes you go back to feeling like a failure. Another might be low expectations. You just don't ever expect anything to work out for you, You just something happens, you say, well, par for the course, something came along, took that money away, and I didn't have that. Made a little money, lost some money. It's just this expectation of the waiting for the other shoe to drop kind of thing, and that's a symptom of the fear of failure. Another symptom of the fear of failure is analysis paralysis, and that's where you can't even make a decision, or you take an inordinate amount of time to make a decision because you're afraid that that decision is not going to be good enough, or that if you make the wrong decision, it's somehow going to lead to a big failure of some kind, which often leads to disillusionment about your life situation, and you start to feel hopeless. I work with a lot of entrepreneurs who are, great people, good, good at what they do, and they offer a lot of value in the world, but a lot of them suffer from hopelessness about their situation. They've had a lot of things where they've been kicked down, and they just feel like, nothing's going to work for me. It starts to become a cycle of cynicism and really not believing that anything can change. So what's causing this fear of failure? One of the biggest things I see come up is trauma from past failures. So, let's say you suffered a bankruptcy 10 years ago or something. There can be trauma left in your mind and your energy systems over that happening that could still be affecting you today. Could be trauma from something that happened in childhood. Could be family patterns where you have parents who have dealt with this fear of failure, and you've seen them do it, and you've seen siblings suffer from it, and so it's just what you've always known, and the brain tends to look for patterns and wants to recreate what it feels familiar with. And so another cause, but it's also a symptom of this fear of failure, is getting stuck in this cycle of hopelessness. It's self-feeding. When you get to the point where you just can't imagine that things can get any better, you're probably stuck in this cycle of hopelessness. And it creates a lack of vision where you can't see what's going to be better, but also the lack of vision keeps you from being able to pull out of it. You're not able to take that aerial view and see that, okay, all of these things that are happening in my life are really taking me somewhere. And one of the things I teach in my Breakthrough to Radiance program is there's no such thing as failure. I don't really believe that there's anything that has to be considered a failure in your life. It's an experience. It's something that perhaps didn't work ideally, but could be tweaked. You could learn from it. You can carry the lessons from that experience into something else. It may be that if you took the aerial view of your life, you would see that this experience, experience A, B, and C gave you elements you needed to get to the success at point D. And none of those things are failures now because they gave you the components that you needed. You're always building forward to a success, and if you start to reframe your life experiences as, you're just in between successes. You had a big success and now you're rebuilding and you're moving toward another success. And one of the other, this comes up a lot in any of the clouds that we're talking about, is false beliefs. False beliefs about how the world works, thinking that things have to be a certain way, and we explore those more, as I said, in my Breakthrough to Radiance program. All right. Fear of confrontation. Now this one, I'll just be vulnerable and I'll say this is probably the one that I've dealt with the most, fear of confrontation. So what are the symptoms of this one? A peace at any price philosophy, that no matter what happens, you've got to keep the peace. So if your opinion is different than someone else's, maybe you just sort of suck it up and you don't say it, or you say it as nicely as you can, or you just got to keep the peace. Which also leads you to have a lot of times boundary issues. We misperceive our own boundaries that uphold our values and beliefs as points of confrontation sometimes. You know, if somebody else starts to press our boundaries or encroach upon our values, sometimes if we're peace at any price, we'll let them do it. We'll let them treat us in ways that are unacceptable because we make their feelings more important than our feelings and their values more important than our values, and we're afraid to make that stand up for our truth and say, hey, I'm not going to be treated this way. But when you continually cave to your boundaries, it affects the way you feel about your values of yourself. Not only does it undermine your belief values, but it undermines you in the way you value yourself, and that shows up in your personal life and your business and everywhere else. Another symptom of the fear of confrontation is blaming yourself when other people act out. So if your children make choices that are not great, you may blame yourself. If your spouse is unhealthy in the way he speaks to you or something, you may blame yourself. What did I do to set him off? Or, you know, I should have done something different or whatever. And I really don't believe that blame is healthy in any situation, but we need to identify what's going on and let go of the blame. Another symptom of the fear of confrontation is not speaking up. We might have a preference or an opinion, and we just don't say it because, again, we don't want to start rocking the boat or you know, getting anybody upset. And the way that it might show up in your business might be that you're not holding your clients accountable. You may let your clients, you may give them some advice, some homework, and if they don't follow through and they come back and say, well, this didn't work, I'm not getting the results, well, do we say, well, did you do the homework, you know? And if they consistently don't do the homework, we might ask them, you know, I'm seeing they're really not wanting to follow through here. Is this getting too difficult for you? You know, or is this too much for you right now in your life? And be willing to put it back on them, because any relationship is two-way. And as a consultant or a coach or whatever, you've got to be willing to seem a little confrontational. It's not really confrontational, but to allow that other person to take responsibility. And there are varying degrees of this fear of confrontation. Another one might be that you're not charging what you're worth because you don't want to have that price conversation. You're afraid that might be difficult, or, you know, the person might expect you to justify your prices or whatever, you know, or changing prices, not ever changing your prices, always staying at the same rate even when inflation happens. All of those kind of things could be symptomatic of fear of confrontation. So what are the causes of the fear of confrontation? It can be caused by childhood trauma. I've talked about this in a blog that I wrote one time. I grew up going to private Christian schools where they paddled the kids, you know, and it seemed to me as a little kid who came from a loving home, and I was not spanked or anything, I can't remember getting a spanking, to go into this environment where people seemed to be getting paddled randomly for silly things, like maybe they said something when the teacher didn't want them to say it. To me, it seemed random, you know. And so I learned to just be very quiet. Don't show up. Don't say anything. Don't rock the boat, you know, because you might get this random corporal punishment. You know, there was this random violence to me as a little child is what it looked like. So it affected me for the rest of my life in the way I was not willing to do conflict, or not willing to confront people or speak my truth or go for what I wanted. And these childhood traumas and things that we have can create false beliefs that lodge in us, that we create rules about life, and we don't even really realize that we're running through these rules. And so when I work with my clients in the Breakthrough to Radiance program and in my personal one-on-one coaching that I do with people, we really are able to dive into these false beliefs that are created in a childhood trauma. And the neat thing about Simply Healed, the method that I use, is I don't have to dredge up your drama. we don't even have to discuss it. So it lends itself nicely to a group setting because you can just clear the trauma out without everybody knowing your story if you don't want to share your story. Another thing that might contribute to the fear of confrontation is your own personality, the way you're driven. There are basically 4 personality types. My friend Lisa Ray Preston has developed this Step into Destiny core personality types, core drivers. It's stepintodestiny.com if you want to take the free test to see which one you are. There's one of them that's called an empathy. And empathy's their core driving, the thing that lights their fire, that makes them feel great, is helping other people feel good. They want other people to feel good. I'm sorry, I thought I unplugged my phone, but I did not. So if you're in empathy, either as a primary or secondary part of your core personality, confrontation flies in the face of this desire to make other people feel good, you know. And it's rarely about making you feel good, it's about everybody else feeling good. And so empathies have a tendency to have a little trouble with this fear of confrontation. I know I did. Another thing that comes up as a cause for the fear of confrontation is family patterns, the way the dynamics of the home you grew up in. It may be that people always stuff their emotions in your family, or it could be the other way, that there was just emotional outbursts everywhere and you were, you know, scared of the confrontation. I mean, any number of dynamics can come into play. One of the ones I think that hits a lot of women is, I got to be the good girl. And that may be that our parents bragged on us when we were easygoing and we didn't rock the boat and we didn't really say we didn't want to do something, or, you know, or we went along with whatever other people wanted to do. Well, ain't she a good girl? You know, if they're quiet and they don't say anything, that's the good girl, you know. So we think we've got to keep doing that to be the good girl. All right. So the next cloud is fear of exposure. And we'll take a look at the symptoms of that one. One is creating things but never releasing them. You may have manuscripts all stacked up on your computer, or maybe you've got partially created programs or membership area content sites. I mean, I know people that just have hard drives full of content they've created and they have never released. And that would be a symptom of the fear of exposure. And part of that comes from a need for perfectionism, thinking things have to be perfect before you release them. Now, I have a background. I started in business in 1990 as a computer trainer and a consultant, so I've watched the world shift from Microsoft DOS to Windows to, you know, the Mac world. And I've watched Microsoft over the years, and I always joke around, if perfectionism was required for success, Microsoft would not exist, because Microsoft was always releasing different versions of their software that were very imperfect. There were bugs in there, and they would just get the feedback from the people who used it, and then they would, you know, keep perfecting it. And over time, they've fixed a lot of things, but still there's frustrations with some software, and then they send out a new patch, you know. And there's nothing to say that you can't do that. You don't want to just put out shoddy work and put garbage out and then change it. But as long as it's good, and you can always do updates. You can always, it's a nice thing to offer your clients updates to things if you improve them as they go along. It doesn't have to be perfect out the box. All right, another symptom of the fear of exposure is paralysis in making videos and audios and speaking. Maybe you just can't bring yourself to do those things. You feel paralyzed about it. There could be something in the fear of exposure there. Here's an interesting one that is a symptom of the fear of exposure that I see come up as I work with people on how to create their amazing body in my program that I do on that. Weight issues a lot of times are linked back to fear of exposure. If someone is afraid of speaking, being seen, making videos, putting themselves out there, especially if they're like a knowledge-based entrepreneur and they're scared to do that, they may hide behind the weight as a protection. They can say, well, I'm too overweight to make videos, or, oh, I don't look good, I can't get on a stage. So there's some ties there. Actually, weight is a tangle of stuff to unravel sometimes, but I do see fear of exposure come up quite frequently in that. So what causes the fear of exposure? Again, it could be past traumas, a humiliating situation. Maybe you got up and you gave a part in a play when you were a kid and everybody laughed because you were so cute, but you thought they were laughing at you. You know, that could cause some belief systems to be formed in that moment that are still affecting you today. Criticism from other people can lodge in there and make you fear exposure. Fearing your own greatness, you know, the whole Marianne Williamson quote about how we fear the amazing potential of who we are, you know, and sometimes we feel like maybe we're too much. Maybe other people haven't really known where to put us or whatever in our enthusiasm and our passion for our subject, and maybe those glazed looks or those, you know, have made us fear that we're too much. And so we need to tone ourselves down and we need to play small and not really expose ourselves. And all of that can lead to self-judgment. Sometimes we're our worst enemy instead of our best friend. There are things that we tell ourselves a lot of times in our minds that we would never tell a friend or a colleague or even a complete stranger, but we'll beat ourselves up with self-judgment. And again, we've got false beliefs, as usual, underlying a lot of these fears. Now, in my Breakthrough to Radiance program, we're going to address these different areas, the false beliefs that undermine the fear of exposure, help you get rid of those and help you look through the timelines of your life and get rid of the traumatic events that may have caused you to fear exposure. Right, our next cloud is lack of support systems. You may feel like it's all on you. A lot of people experience a lot of overwhelm because they feel like they've got to figure it all out. It's all on them, you know. It'd be like a little acorn put into the ground and being overwhelmed that it doesn't have the bark and the leaves and doesn't know how it's going to grow so big, and so it just doesn't even try. It feels like it's all on its own. But the acorn is completely supported by the soil and the water and the air and the sunlight, and all of nature supports the acorn and provides for it what it needs to become what it needs to be. And if you can reframe and let go of that fear of being unsupported and really tap in to the abundance that's all around you, you realize that you are completely supported just like that acorn. But if you feel like it's all on you to figure it all out, you know, you're probably not going to get there because nothing is created in a vacuum. You may feel like nobody in your life can relate to your dreams. You can't really share your dreams with anyone, and that's symptomatic of a lack of support system. Or you may feel like nobody gets you, that you're different and nobody gets you. And one of the things that has really helped me in working with entrepreneurs is understanding the typical personality type of a lot of entrepreneurs, especially the ones I work with, is we're rare. We really are rare. We comprise approximately 10% of the population. And so a lot of people don't get us. You know, that's just frankly it. The trick is to surround yourself with people who do. They are out there. And you may have real or imagined flack from family or spouse or friends, other people that you may expect are not going to know what to do with what you're doing. I hear this a lot from energy workers or people in more spiritual type businesses. They're very concerned about what other people are going to think if they do something a little woo-woo, or maybe they integrate God into their business. What are other people going to think about that? Am I going to get flack? All of that is symptomatic of not believing that you are supported and not creating the support systems that you could have to help you move forward. So what causes this lack of support? I believe one of the biggest things is a need for control, need to control the outcome. As entrepreneurs, we want to control. If we didn't, we wouldn't be entrepreneurs. We'd go be working 9 to 5 in somebody else's business. But as entrepreneurs, we want to call the shots, and that's a great thing because there's got to be the entrepreneurs. But also that need to control keeps us from delegating wisely and trusting our team or trusting other people to show up and do their part. And that creates a lack of a support system. Another thing I see come up is fear of judgment. What are other people thinking about me? You know, most of the time people they're too busy worrying about their own problems to be thinking about you, you know. But there's a lot of people worry a lot about what other people think, and it undermines your feeling of being supported. I always say, I'm just crazy enough to think everybody loves me, you know. I just can't imagine anybody not liking me, you know. So I come from that kind of perspective. It may seem egotistical, but I'm not expecting that anybody dislikes me. And it makes me attract people who like me. You know, what we expect, we attract. Some people have some trust issues, and they have good reason for it. Maybe they've had a lot of bad experiences with people, and they just don't feel like they can trust people anymore. And again, in that Breakthrough to Radiance program, we can dive deeper into those trust issues and clear some of those traumatic situations or events and open you up to receiving all the support, so that you're receiving all the support that God and the universe has to send you, just like that acorn is completely supported. So sometimes those past issues turn up in expectations that you're going to be betrayed, or somebody's going to steal your idea, or somebody's going to hurt you in some way. And those expectations draw to you over and over again the type of people who will do that to you. If you can flip the switch, if you can shift your energy around that, you can start expecting good things to come to you, and then good things will, the good people will. And I systematically monitor the people I allow in my life. There are people that I know are toxic, and I've learned to feel whether they're toxic or not almost from the get-go. And I'm nice to those people, and I love them and everything, but I'm not going to bring them close into my inner circle because they're just toxic for me. You know, they may not be toxic to everybody, but for me, I know they're going to be problematic. And then I surround myself intentionally with the people who support my dreams, who won't squash them, who are going to nurture me along and be there for me. I personally like to surround myself with people who are going to tell me the truth, you know, even if it doesn't, even if I don't want to hear it, you know. You need those kind of people who will tell you the truth no matter what. But then those people may not be the ones you give your little seedling dream to either, you know. So you got to know how to interact with people at the right time and find those ones that are going to support you in different aspects of your life and business. And we'll be talking about this more and creating that support system for you in the Breakthrough to Radiance program. All right. So scarcity thinking is the next cloud. And a lot of times, you know, the money picture there, we think about money when we think of scarcity, but it shows up in a lot of other places besides money. It can show up in the way you release or don't release your ideas. You may feel like, if I let this idea out, this is my big idea, my big flagship thing, and if I let this out, I may not get any more good ideas. This may be the end of it. This may be all that's in me. And so I've got to really be careful with it. And there are ways to safeguard ideas and to let them out in a way that you can profit optimally from them, but you don't want to be so immobilized and scared that this is the only idea you got that you don't move forward. And I see a lot of people do that. Other people sometimes are afraid that their ideas are going to get stolen, as if there's a limit to ideas. I mean, the world is raining ideas. I think heaven rains down ideas on them, and just like lightning bolts coming down, if you can imagine, down on earth. These ideas are raining down, and whoever takes them and runs with them and follows through, they're the ones who get to benefit from those ideas. So sitting on them and for fear there's not going to be more, or that, you know, they're going to get stolen, you know, sometimes I don't think ideas are stolen so much as that they're raining down and multiple people get them at the same time. And so if you get it and you like it, you better run with it. So it's just my theory. All right, and again, the typical way this scarcity thinking shows up is in our money, in our finances, not having enough. Another one I hear people a lot, well, there's already somebody doing what I want to do. The world doesn't need one more person. Why should I bother? And think about how many doctors, lawyers, consultants, life coaches are out there in the world. There's, you know, thousands and thousands of these people. It's just impractical to think that you can't go into a similar line of business or even pursue an idea that somebody else's similar idea, because it's you that makes it unique. You are really the only thing that's scarce, you and the greatness of your personality, and that is where your value is coming from, that you can put out into the world, and that's what you bring to the table. So don't be afraid that, you know, somebody's already out there doing what you want to do. Another scarcity thinking symptom would be people don't have money to pay me. I hear that one a lot. You know, the economy's bad, nobody has the money. I've thought that one myself sometimes, you know. That is really just scarcity thinking, because somebody out there does have the money to pay you. There are enough people out there that do. Might not be that person you talk to today, but somebody out there does. So what causes this scarcity thinking? A lot of it can be generational. They have determined, they've looked at our DNA and found there's just massive amounts of storage in our DNA that they didn't realize was there. And they have found that, let's say somebody, your great-great-grandmother went through a traumatic time during the Depression, that trauma actually could have written to her DNA and changed it, put a marker on it from that trauma. And that gets passed down through the genealogical lines, and you could be having some scarcity propensities that have come through your cellular memory that's not even yours, it's your great-great-grandmother's or something. So in my Breakthrough to Radiance call, that's part of one of the things we could do is look at the generational patterns and release those, so that you're not having to deal with the things that happened to your great-great-grandmother or somebody 7 generations back. You can create something new, and once it's moved out of the way, you have the freedom to move forward where you may have felt stuck in the past. Traumas, money traumas, like I said, somebody may have filed a bankruptcy or something, that could still be causing you trauma in the present, even if it was 10 years ago. False beliefs about money and about what's available and abundance in the world, and limiting beliefs about nature and what it can provide for you. And the thing about the scarcity thinking is, if you allow yourself to slip into it, it's just a self-feeding rut. You know, it's really hard to get out of it once you start talking like that. Well, I don't have the money for this, or I don't have the money for that, or, you know, people out there don't have money to pay me, or you start this negative kind of stinking thinking that self-perpetuates, and it's really hard to break out of that unless you can shift into a different viewpoint and shift into an abundance mindset. All right, the next one is the savior complex, or I call it sometimes the save the world complex. And that's where you want for others what they don't want for themselves. I know a lot of the people that I work with have the ability to see the potential in others, and they see the road ahead. You know, when I talk to somebody, I see the possibilities that person can take. I see their big vision of where they could go and how incredible they are. I see their greatness, and I want that for them. But sometimes they don't want it for themselves. And so if you get too wound up, too overly invested in other people's outcomes, it can create this savior complex where you're carrying the weight of not only yourself but everybody else too. Another symptom of the savior complex is a need to fix. You know, we might want to fix our spouse, or we want to fix our kids, or we want to fix our clients. We feel like we can make things better. We can fix it all the time. And sometimes you know, even if you can fix something, you shouldn't, because other people have their path and they have to enlighten on their own. I was talking to a colleague today, and she was like, you know, I feel kind of bad. I saw something coming for you, and I should have said something, but I really felt like you were going to see it eventually, so I should just keep my mouth shut and let things play out. And I'm glad she did, because had she said something at the time, I think I would have discounted it and not paid any attention really to what she had to say. I wasn't ready to hear. So sometimes we're trying to force our fixing on the other people. We see what's going to fix their problem. We try to tell them. They don't listen. And then we're frustrated and we become impatient. And then we worry over other people's problems. We do this a lot with as parents, with children or family members. And we have this need to be needed. You know, we want to be needed. Empty nesters sometimes hit this one, where, you know, their kids don't need them anymore. They're grown. I've got 2 boys that are grown and married, and they're off living their own lives, and they don't need me anymore. And to me, I could be upset that I don't hear from them a lot, but really I'm excited that they're out there living their lives, they're pursuing their dreams, they're successful at what they're doing, and I raised them to be independent, and they're doing it, you know, and they don't come to me asking for money. They figure out their own problems, and to me that's a success as a parent. I don't need them to need me anymore. And speaking of parenting, the bad parent is another symptom of the savior complex. I see this with parents whose children, maybe they raised them, especially in a faith-based home, to live their lives a certain way, and then when they get grown, that maybe they discard the belief system of their parents and they go off on their own and they live a completely different lifestyle. And the mother will beat herself up. It's all her fault in her mind that this child didn't make choices that she felt like she should have raised them to make. And, you know, you did the best you could, and everybody has the ability to choose. And a lot of the savior complex means letting go and allowing other people the freedom to live their lives. They have their own choice and accountability, and it's not because you were a bad parent that that child, you know, chose a different path. Most likely they'll come back around to it eventually if you taught them well anyway. So you just got to let the road play out. All right, so what causes this savior complex? One of them is one of our greatest strengths as entrepreneurs is a drive to excel, to do our best, to have the wow factor in whatever we do. It leads us toward thinking we've got to do more and bigger and better, and we don't really embrace the beauty in our lives because we're always out wanting to save the world, to excel beyond. And that ability to see the potential in other people can also cause this savior complex because we see it. We want it for them. We want it for them now, you know, and that gets us into wanting to dive in and do that fixing that we talked about. It makes us impatient, and we start to own other people's stuff and try to feel like we're responsible for it in some way. And all of this is undermined by false beliefs about thinking that, you know, I was doing this 3 or 4 years ago. I was working with a colleague of mine, and she said, "Oh, so you're carrying the cross." And I was like, "Huh?" It's like, "You're carrying the cross." I was like, "Oh." It's like I wasn't believing that the other people could make good choices and couldn't come to God and get the help they needed. I had to make sure that they did it, you know. And that's not my job, you know. All I'm supposed to be looking out for is me and raising my kids the best they can, and hopefully they're going to go off and they're going to make their own choices and they're not going to need me anymore. So there's a lot of false beliefs that come up with that. And bottom line, I believe it's a need to control. We want to control the outcome. We want to keep our world in containment. And we feel like if we can control what our kids are doing or our clients are doing or whatever's happening, that somehow that's keeping us safe. There are safety issues at the root of the Savior Complex. We're trying to keep our world safe, and by Breakthrough to Radiance program, we go in and we look hard at what these safety issues might be. You know, what is it that makes you feel so unsafe when you can't control your world? And we can move some of those things out of the way so that you can be free to, really, it lifts a huge, huge weight off your shoulders to be able to let go of this feeling that you've got to save the world. So you can break through and shine, and I'm going to give you a powerful strategy you can use to begin breaking through these clouds. And this is what I promised to share with you. This is something you can do on your own. First, you want to acknowledge that the fear or the situation, the cloud exists. It's there, you know. Sticking your head in the sand and pretending things aren't there doesn't help. Shining the light on them, acknowledging that that's there is 50% of the battle in transforming your life. Then you want to ask, okay, is this fear valid? Is it my highest good to keep this fear? Is it, if I continue to have a fear of success, is that really in my highest good to hang on to that? Is it a valid fear? Most of the time it's not going to be a valid fear, and you're going to realize it's not in your highest good to hang on to it. And if it's not in your highest good to keep it, then you can create a safety net. And I'll give you an example. Let's say that you are afraid of success. You're afraid that when you're successful, you're not going to have the time or the energy to spend with your family. It's going to get out of hand, and you're just going to be run ragged all the time. So let's say that's, maybe you saw a parent do that, you know, or a friend do that, and you know, maybe she ended up in a divorce and lost her family, and all because she was a success or something, okay? So what you would want to do is create a safety net around that. What would prevent that from happening to you? Well, if you created a business that was delegated properly, that was organized in such a way that liberated you from the day-to-day aspects of that business, if you created a support team that you could trust to run that business, if you knew that good people were going to be attracted to you to work with you on your team, and you could go off to Jamaica for a week while they run your business, if all of that was true, then there probably wouldn't be any need to be scared of that feeling that it's going to get out of hand, right? So those are some beliefs that you might put in yourself. I attract healthy and supportive support team to run my business. I can trust my people to do their job. I let go of needing to micromanage these people because they're so skilled and responsible that they do it themselves. I have created a business that frees me from the day-to-day aspects of it, and I can enjoy my life and take breaks and go on vacation and spend time with my family, and my business still keeps running. Okay? So all of those type of belief systems you could put in and let go of the other ones. So these new beliefs would take over. Now, in my mind, I kind of look at the way my mind and my energy systems work as a computer, you know. Let's say I have a computer and there's a software program running in it that says, if I get successful, I'm going to lose my freedom. All right, well, that software, you decide that's not a good software and you want to get rid of it. So you put in these new software statements that say, I'm always supported, I have a good team, I have a business that runs itself, you know, all these different things we talked about. Just imagine them going into your brain or your heart or wherever you want, that those things are going in and they're just pushing out that old stuff. Just kind of breathe in and let those new beliefs come in, or you can put those beliefs on paper. You can put them on your mirror and on your bathroom. You can put them on your wall by your computer. Actively take ownership of those new beliefs that will send out the old beliefs out of the way. And then you want to detach from the emotion of it. Let go of the turmoil of all of that and start acting as if it's true. Go ahead and start acting like you attract a supportive group of employees to work with you or subcontractors. Go ahead and act as if that you can be a success and not let it go to your head. All of these different new beliefs, go ahead and start acting as if they're true. And that feeds those beliefs. It's faith without works is dead, is what James said. And that's because if you really have faith and you really believe something, you will start acting upon that belief. And acting upon it makes it grow. And then it will start to really take root in your life, and you'll see the results and the changes as a result. All right, so those are the 7 storm clouds. And in my Breakthrough to Radiance program, I dive really deep into these, and we really address them for you. It's very interactive. I keep these calls to small groups so you can ask questions and really get the help you need on your issues. And if you want to learn more about that program, it's at marniepearson.com/radiance.php, marniepearson.com/radiance.php. And it's 6 calls where we cover these different clouds and how to break through them. And if you act quickly, there's a date on that page by which you can get a free one-on-one consult with me that's well worth the value of the whole course. And I'd encourage you to take me up on that, because then we can dive into your specific challenges or thought patterns and help you break free.
Marnie, I'm now showing your page.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, I thought you might want to go over a bit about what you're doing here. I love the outline that you've put in this. Everyone should look at it. You are just fabulous on your calls, the 6 live calls, and I think they're great. They can go back and look at this, and I think that this is a wonderful overview.
Yeah. So it's the 6 calls address the fear of confrontation. On the first call, we're going to be talking about standing in your truth and really standing up for what you want, and in a way that's graceful. You know, it's not like abrasive or anything like that. The next one is going to be talking about releasing this savior complex so that you let go of all the responsibility. I'm telling you, it's a huge weight off your shoulders when you let go of this need to save the world thing and just realize that you're responsible for you, and that's it. The third call is on abandoning the scarcity and embracing abundance. And then the fourth call is on overcoming typical fears like public speaking, videos, putting yourself out there, not worrying about the criticism. I know a good friend of mine that's like, I don't want to put anything on YouTube because people say bad things about YouTube videos. You know, they post negative comments. Well, turn the comments off. You know, it's like, or just let it go. You know, so there's ways to break through some of these things that are holding us back from really showing up fully. The fifth call is on attracting those supportive friends and colleagues and clients. And this one is so huge. I completely reset my business in November of 2012 when Google changed a bunch of things in the way content marketing worked. And it basically made a business that I had void, you know, a multi-6-figure business. And had I not had the supportive friends and the colleagues that I did, I don't think I would have made it through that transition. But they were there for me. They helped me brainstorm ideas. They helped me fine-tune my new direction. And it's so important to create that kind of support system around you. And so we're going to be talking about that in the 5th class. And then the 6th one, I'm combining the fear and failure and fear of success because, like I say, they're flip sides of a coin. And we're going to break through those together. Donna, did you have anything to add there?
Well, I just think it's fantastic because there are several of them that still have issues that I deal with. I think that I've got them cleared, but then I see them. You explain some things in such a way that I'm going, hey, I still deal with the fear of failure and the fear of success. They're so intertwined, and maybe I'm you know, I say I'm never have fear of confrontation, but maybe I'm just too bold. Maybe I need to just soften that down some. So I think that's great, and I love this because I think the fear of everything comes into our business. And I saw down here at the bottom that you're actually, for people who are going to be signing up quickly, they're going to get a private 50-minute session with you.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, and I want to share something with you. You're charging way too little for your time. You mentioned that. So I'd just like to be your counselor in relationship to that.
Yeah, you're not the only one who tells me that. I guess I like helping people, so I like to make it affordable, but yeah.
So I want to thank you very much for sharing this with us today. Marnie, you're absolutely fantastic. And what else would you like to share with the people before we leave?
Well, I think the main thing that I'd like to share is that you don't have to stay stuck. You know, I get so excited when I meet these people with incredible messages to share. They've got really good stories, or they have systems that are amazing. I mean, you, like Donna, your mindset shifting stuff is just amazing. I love working with people who have these innovative ideas and messages to share, or unique ways that they bring themselves to somebody else's idea, you know. And I hate to see them get stuck, and it's just really between your ears, you know. It's just the stuff that's going on there, and the traumas of the past that hold us back. And when you let go of that stuff, man, huge changes happen, and it happens fast. I've seen it happen with my clients. I've seen it happen with myself. You know, I dropped 50 pounds using these types of clearing a lot of this stuff. You know, I really believe a lot of what I dropped with that 50 pounds in the last little bit had to do with letting go of my fear of confrontation and letting go of some of my fear of exposure, of being too much for people. So a lot of it just can show up everywhere in your life, in your personal life, in your weight, in your body, in your business, your bottom line. And when you start moving that stuff out of the way, you're going to radiate a clearer signal that's going to draw people to you, and you're going to become more irresistible than ever to the people that you're here to reach and the people you're here to help.
And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to copy the URL and put it in the chat box, so anyone can just click through there. That'll be an easier way. There you go. It'll be easier for them to click through and sign up, because within the next 24 hours, they're talking about getting a 50-minute session with you. You're pricing this the whole thing at $127. That's for all 6 sessions?
Yep, that's all of it.
Well, gosh. I think you're going to have several groups, because you're going to have several groups because you're going to have a whole lot more than the small number of people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We'll do another one.
Okay. I want to thank you so much and welcome everyone for being here, and say, this is Marnie Pearson. I am so proud to have experienced her clearing. She's helping me break through my clouds and continues to do that. So hop on the train with her.
Thank you everybody coming, and Donna, as always, thank you. You're amazing. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Take care. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.